Hey, it's Jordan with TYT and TYT Politics. I'm here with a young lady who, like many on Thursday, were pretty much ambushed by police and arrested for charges that aren't really based on anything. Talk to me just about where you were, what you guys were doing, and when you guys first saw the police.
Um, Actually, I was with my friend Annie, and we were going to Frontline because I was cooking for the boys. But we went to Frontline, and she was keeping me back from not getting arrested. And I told her that I didn't care to get arrested because I was up here for a reason. And that reason was to stand with Danny Rock to fight the pipeline. And so we were at Frontline,
When you say frontline, you were at the main frontline camp.
the main part of camp where they were pushing everybody away. And when we were there, I was kind of by like a shed thing, and I was talking to this officer, and they were all on the line, and next thing you know, there's the group of officers, and that guy, one of them officers were like, grab her. And before they could grab me, I pulled away, and this other girl was all like, don't touch her. So they kind of pulled her, and they broke her arm. And then after that, I backed away. Then by the time I got arrested was when they started closing in on us. And when they were closing in on us, I happened to be in a circle with the rest of the group, and we were like singing and just praying in a circle, and they scooted everybody back, and we were kind of the last ones to get arrested. While we were getting arrested, they grabbed a man and they manhandled him first, and we were before everybody else got arrested, I was one of the last ones that got arrested, and I did everything that I was told, but I still ended up getting manhandled. And
When they came in and you said you guys were singing, praying, were they giving you commands like get your stuff or do something, and you guys weren't listening, or
told us to scoot back and to get up and to go on the road, but we chose to sit there because it was sacred land. So they surrounded us around with a bunch of groups and the police. So we sat there and we didn't listen to them. So then by then they were hauling everybody out, arresting them, and I was the last one to get arrested, and that's when they manhandled me.
so obviously if you're saying that they broke a girl's arm, they manhandled you, they weren't exactly treating you. They weren't. Were they reading you your rights? Or was this more like?
It was more like we were sitting there and like we were pretty much doing kind of what we were told at the same time. And by the time we could get up, that's when they just kind of grabbed me and jerked me and then started manhandling me. But they didn't read me my rights, and they just said to stand there and be quiet. But I kept telling them that I would like to know my rights, but they still didn't give them to me.
And when you say manhandled you, were they pushing you? Were they?
I was sitting on the ground, and they told me to stand up. But when I stood up, that's when they just kind of pushed me to the ground and just kind of like started grabbing my arm, and like I have a couple bruises from them, and my body was sore after I got manhandled by them officers.
Where you have bruises on your arm? Talk to me about the bruises.
I have, from being thrown on the ground, I have a bruise on my chest, and I have my bruise. From being in jail for 4 days, my bruises kind of went away. So I had bruises on my arms, and my legs were sore, and they had my hands so tight that I started getting like a rash from being in cuffs so long. And after that, they just said, well, you guys didn't listen, and they just started going off on us, and I was like getting frustrated. But
Now, you said you were in jail for 4 days. So, how was the treatment in jail? Did they, I've heard horror stories with other girls. Did they strip search you? Did they give you access to a phone call? How was your treatment?
Well, they arrested me and we get to Martin County. They told us to take off all our clothes except for our one layer. And by then I had a tank top on and sweats, and that was my one layer. And they made us take off our shoes and our socks. And they took us into a dog cage. And that's where everybody was at. They said they didn't have dog cages, but they had dog cages, and we were all locked in there. And they were getting people their mugshots and doing fingerprints and booking us in. And they were called names, and they were supposed to transport me to Fargo. And before, when I got on the bus, I told them repeatedly that I had high blood pressure, and I knew I had high blood pressure before I got on the bus. So I told the officer, and I got off, and this woman officer, she was all like, "Well, why didn't you tell them ahead of time?" I was like, "I told you guys repeatedly that I have high blood pressure." And so she's like, "Well, you don't gotta get mouthy with me," and I just got lippy with her. And sure enough, I had really high blood pressure, and they held me in the holding cell for about a good 3 hours.
Did they check your blood pressure when you said this?
Yes, they did, and it was high, but they gave me like medication so I can go down. So there was quite a few of us that had high blood pressure, and there was one late elderly in there that had diabetes, and so they were kind of giving us some treatment, but we also had another girl in there that had a really bad anxiety attack, and she had an attack, and they didn't give her proper medical treatment. They didn't call the ambulance for her or nothing. They didn't give her medication, none of that. But after a while, we were sitting there, and they told us to go and get ready all by one by one, to go in a room, and they strip searched us. They made us take off all our clothes and searched us. And I was really disgusted. Like, how could you do this? Like, make us strip search, especially when we're peaceful protesters.
And how old are you?
I'm 18 years old, and I was strip searched, and that's very uncomfortable for me. And it's my first time ever being arrested. And, like I was telling my school, which I go to Coal Creek Sioux Tribe, I told them students and them staff members that if I was to die in Standing Rock, that it would be my decision, that it would be my responsibility, and I'm the one responsible for my actions, and that I'm not scared to be who I am and stand up for my tribe and for the people in this community. And being up here is really kind of hard for me, and I'm kind of glad I'm up here. Then after that, I just got transferred. I spent a night in Martin County, and I asked for phone calls. They wouldn't give me my phone calls. They kept telling us that after we booked in, and I never got booked in. And that first night I was in jail, I was actually supposed to get bonded out, but I couldn't get bonded out because I wasn't booked in.
So they had you in there, but it was kind of off the books. They didn't actually book you yet?
Yep. I was booked in, but they didn't let me out. And so then by the first night I spent it in jail, I got transferred. The next morning I got transferred to Devil's Lake. And Devil's Lake, I just didn't like the way these officers were treating us.
At this point, did your parents, did your family, did anybody know where you were for 24 hours?
That I'm not really sure if my mom knew at the time. I never really got a call home. I tried calling my mom, but I never really got a call. I never got a phone call.
Well, you were there for 4 days, so at what point did they allow you?
I figured it out by the time. Like I said, Annie, she kept telling me not to go to jail, but I kept telling her that I wasn't afraid to go to jail. I wasn't afraid. I'm not scared. And so by the time there, Annie told...
Who's Annie?
Annie's right over there. Annie is a friend. And she told them, and she told one of our tribal members from my tribe. Then from there, they told my mom. My mom was worried about me and she's all like, I'm the youngest in the family, so she was kind of scared.
How many siblings?
I have 5 or 7 actually, and I'm the youngest on my mom's and the oldest on my dad's side.
Morton County, then you get transferred to another one. You said they were being pretty terrible to you at this other one. Were you at this other one the rest of the time, or you were?
I was at Devil's Lake for the rest of the 3 days. I was in jail. I had an officer come in, and I kept asking him if I could make a phone call. And that guy was like, well, I'll look into it. I'll talk to my boss. And they kept coming in, and they're like, well, we'll look into it. By then, they still didn't let us call. By the time I got to make my phone call was the last day. It was like 2 hours before I got bailed out.
So you were arrested initially without having your rights read to you, and you were there for 4 days and didn't get a phone call until the 4th day, when by law you're supposed to have it the first night you're arrested.
Yep. I never got my rights read to me. I went to court Saturday, and I got charged with 2 felonies and 1 misdemeanor. I got charged with trespassing and another one for, I guess I was at the bridge and I was one of the things that set fire, but I wasn't there. So I got charged with that. Everybody got charged with that.
For starting a fire?
Yep, and we were nowhere near that fire. And so,
do you have proof you weren't near the fire?
yes, I have photos of where I was standing about the time I got arrested. And for Martin County to charge me with that second felony is stupid because they don't have proof I was there. And like I said, I have proof of where I got arrested and where I was standing. And so it was, I can't really say jail was all that bad, and it's not. People think it's scary, and it's not scary being in there. It's just you.
Well, it's funny. I was about to say you seem kind of composed and strong, but I would have to think that it wasn't. At some point, it was a tough experience. No?
Oh no, I mean, it was practically like I was living at home, cause like I sat in that room full of ladies, and it was like you just sat in there and you slept and you watched TV most of the time. And
they had TVs in the cell?
Yes, we gotta watch some TV. But or like I said, when I got arrested, they were writing numbers on us, and my number is 197.
Can I see? So they basically have numbers on you that, if we're going back in history, that's what the Jews had in the Holocaust. And why were they writing numbers on you? Is this your inmate number or something?
I asked this lady what these numbers standed for, if this was the number of us getting arrested, and she said no, we lost count, so they wrote a number on us. But when we went to jail, that was our number where we got our clothes and our personal property out of. But I guess according to them, it wasn't nothing. But if you really think about it, and if you look at the numbers, they all have 100, and they kind of go in order, because my friend is a 198, a number after me, and she got arrested around the same time I did, and I was one of the last 2 to get bonded out. They gave us 24 hours to bond out.
So they're charging you with inciting a fire or something like that. So the fire was on the bridge, but they arrested you in the camp, not near the bridge, correct?
Yep. I was nowhere near the bridge when I got arrested. I was at the camp when I got arrested. Like I said, by the time they don't have no proof I was near the bridge. I was arrested, and I was surrounded by cops before I even got to the bridge. I didn't get to see the bridge on fire or none of that. So why they're charging me with this, I don't know why. And I have court in 2 weeks, and it's kind of hard because, like I said, I'm 18 years old. I went to jail my first year here, and I'm a senior. I'm just an average girl trying to do things, and being here, I can honestly say I've changed a lot from who I was. When I first came to this camp, I was scared. I was really shy. And then after a month and a half of being here in Standing Rock, I came out of it. I became a girl, a woman that's strong, that's not afraid to do anything anymore. And I'm just proud of who I am now. I have a lot of respect for everybody, and I have people from my school that respect me. Um, and I've changed a lot. I I can't say how happy I am of the person I've become from being here. It's just an amazing feeling, honestly.
So when you've been here a month or a month and a half, when you look at the police presence around and how they've treated people, and when you learn more about what they're doing, which is essentially, a pipeline, they're digging up ancient burial grounds where ancestors are buried. As a young person, what does that say to you just about this country and, how they view people and, Native Americans versus making money?
Honestly, when they dug up those remains of our ancestors, I didn't know what to think. I was in shock. I was just like, how could they do something like this? I was speechless. I didn't know what to say, honestly. I could say I was mad. I was really frustrated with what they were doing, and they wouldn't let us go over there. They pushed us away. So it was kind of hard for our elders to see the remains of the ancestors. And for the younger generation, you could tell some of them were like sad, and I was just speechless of why they dug them up. And they knew that they were there. We've told them that that's where the remains were, and they still dug up there. And it's just really rude of them to do something like that.
So the next steps for you are, you said you have a court appearance in 2 weeks?
I have a court appearance in 2 weeks, and the judge said if I don't show up, there's a possibility I could serve a year in prison. And honestly, I'm not scared. I'm really not scared. I did this on my own. I'm like I said, I've became a strong woman from being here, a strong young lady. And frontline, when I stood in front of them officers and I said what I said to them, and court, I'm not too worried about it. I'm just like, court's court. They have no proof of me being at the bridge, so I'm just hoping they drop that, because I wasn't at the bridge. But trespassing, like, really, I get the whole trespassing, but that is kind of sacred land. That, like they said, we don't have weapons, and for them to even say we had weapons is not even dumb. And like they said, what happened to the no helicopters? What happened to they're not supposed to have drones or any of that? And for them to even have those weapons on them and to use them on us is, especially when I seen an elder get arrested around the same time I did, it just kind of...
And when you say use them on you, what do you mean? What did they do with the weapon?
I've seen an officer beat a young man with one of his wand, and I went over there and I told him that was a young man, and he was 15, and
he was hitting him with his billy club?
Yes, and that boy was 15 years old, and he was still a minor. So I was like, okay, my friend witnessed him being kicked and thrown around by the officer. And I was like, why are they doing this? It's like, I mean, like, I just, frontline, if you're not willing to get arrested and stand for the water, then, like, it's like, why are you up here? And, like, I've told my mom multiple times, I'm not scared to come up here. I'm not scared to be at frontline. And you know what? I'm not supposed to have any contact with DAPA workers. But you know what? I'm here because I'm fighting for the water. And I would rather drink clean water than dirty water. And so I I'm not following what the court's saying. So, I mean, court can kind of just kiss my ass because I don't really care. So
Spoken like a real young Turk. Well, I think our audience would be very proud of the type of woman you are too. So thanks for talking to me. Appreciate it.